What did Joe say? Brain damage?
Damage and steroids?
Oh, no, doesn't mean that. Hello, Velvet. It means this is now the big leagues. This is where people don't play for fun anymore. This is serious stuff, and it's sort of kill or be killed. Because winning is the only thing that matters. So that was the lesson we learned yesterday. That we're not playing by the Marquis of Queensberry rules. You know, where they used to box like this. We're not doing that. Gloves off. Yes, we grabbed this gladius. Here we go. Okay, so today we start a couple days of fun, and that is what? Google Form.
Google Form.
How many people in California have done Google Form?
Majority of our class, I would probably say maybe at least probably 80% or so.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah,
So 80% of the people there have done forms?
Right. When we remember we won that last one with the Starbucks?
Yeah, but I thought that was a couple months ago, like 3 months ago.
Well, but most of our students are still here from there. It was like a couple months ago.
It was in March.
Right.
March.
So a lot of it, see, in California, a number of students go a lot longer than 16 weeks. People go over 20 weeks because, you know, like they have medical terminology or QuickBooks. Some have medical terminology and accounting and medical stuff. So those you can't do in 16. We do. It's just you have to finish the first part. And that's the challenge some people have, is we can't get the first part done. Okay, so we're going to do form, and unfortunately, our people here in Las Vegas are probably at a disadvantage, which means we need to try harder, right? Because they know more. Who here has done forms? Okay, a little bit more than half. Okay, good. So let's do an overview of forms. And so in California, have you guys watched the video, read the event?
Some of them have. Would you like us to watch it again as a unit?
Yeah. Why don't you do that and then catch up with us, and we'll just be chatting here.
Okay, we'll do.
What do you guys want to talk about?
See you back in a few.
Robert, anything new? Anything you want to share?
No.
Oh, we could talk about yesterday. Oh, that's probably what Dennis meant when he said, "How did yesterday go?" He probably meant the Department of Corrections, not the other thing I had to go to, which had to do with Chowchuti. So the Department of Corrections, the ending bottom line was, well, the people who were there. So who are the people sitting there? Did anybody recognize John Collins?
Yeah.
Okay. So he is in charge of reentry somehow with the state. I'm not sure what it is. The woman sitting across from him, black woman, teaches at Southern Desert. Anybody recognize her? Yeah, okay. What does she teach? Orientation or something? Okay, whatever she's there. She's from Southern Desert. How about the other woman sitting next to her, across from me? Dr. Darcy Davis, I think. So she is the professional who I think evaluates educational programs for the state. And she takes a lot of notes, took a lot of notes. Clearly an intelligent person who has a process. So we found out what the process was. And at the end, it came to, I love what you're doing. Well, first of all, it was, you're a great salesman. I love what you're doing. We'll send you the stuff so we can start a pilot program. The pilot might be 40 people. So they'll take 40 people at Southern Desert who are set to parole or expire within 90 days, who, when they get out, will be willing to come here. And for the first 2 months, they'll do what we do here to a large extent, except Brain Rush will be not out. Brain Rush will be on a server inside the prison. There will be no way to get out. All of the Google apps will be the offline versions of Google Apps. But typing, memorization, starting university paper, those things will all be for the first 2 months. Then after month, well, let's say after month 1, no new people come in. It's just the first group of people. Then after month 2, that first group of people comes here. And by then, the law will be in effect. So they'll be able to use the internet for, everything that all non-Casa Grande people can use the internet for. They'll do that for 2 months here. And nothing is happening at Southern Desert. We've stopped. And after they're here for the second month, then is when they should have their jobs. So the thing is, within 30 days after the 2 months here, so month number 1, Southern Desert, month number 2, Southern Desert, month number 3, LTC, month number 4, LTC, month number 5, job. Based upon how this goes, we get to start sending people every month into this pipeline. So we talked about resourcefulness. One of the things we want everybody here to become is resourceful. Not, and I use the example of, well, we don't have any money, so we just can't do it. Our people are trained that good employees are resourceful. They don't give their boss a problem. They give their boss a solution to a problem. And they're proactive. And they know that if you are resourceful enough, you can overcome anything, which is true. Some people here, who remembers John Johnson?
I know John. I didn't go to school with him, but I know him.
Okay, so,
The guy.
yeah. Yeah, so John Johnson
thing-
has a lot of problems. He's got a lot of bad habits. But one thing about John Johnson is he'll get on the phone and he'll call anybody. This is a guy who can go from nothing. He'll call up Sheldon Adelson. Who's that? He owns the Venetian. He's one of the wealthiest guys in the country, spends millions and millions and millions of dollars in political stuff. He's one of the 132 people that were warned about. John Johnson will call Sheldon Adelson and convince him to do something that John is involved in. That is resourceful, right? Because most obstacles are cured with money, at least for a short term. So we talked a lot about that our curriculum fundamentally is about placement. Placement is about marketable skills. Marketable skills is about an education in things that employers need. Typing, learning how to use the cloud, learning how to use computers, and the mental side of it of being able to remember things, the memorization, and the mental side of it being, I'm not the ever-ready bunny that you point me forward and I'll just keep bumping into the wall until you tell me what to do. That I hit the wall once, I hit the wall twice, I back up, and then I figure out what I need to do next. That's what good employees do. And we try to instill that. So I think that because of a couple things, some that have nothing to do with the message, just the messenger, is she doesn't usually deal with people who went to a good school that have a law degree that are involved in the education process that have been to prison. So she either deals with people who haven't been to prison or are not well educated or not attorneys and are not persuasive. So she's used to dealing with a different class. So she, was a little bit at a disadvantage, okay, because I'm not like the typical person. But probably more than that was the message she was hearing was not like the message she's ever heard from any other school. Because school, she said, all of these other schools just talk about skills. We just teach skills, we teach skills, we teach skills, we teach skills, we teach skills. They never tie it to, we teach skills so people have a job. We teach the skills that people need to get a job. We teach the hard skills like typing that people need to get a job, but it's all based upon this. We just don't teach skills. We do brain rush so people can do reading, writing, and math so they can get a job. We teach brain rush so people feel confident so when they're in their interview, they don't feel like, I hope I don't get caught. I hope I don't get found out that I'm really stupid. So probably it was the message. And then the other fact of our placement, which we made clear. We don't place people. People place themselves. We just give them, we want to focus on giving them the tools and a plan and how to go do that. And the message is completely different because everyone else says, in effect, these people can't get their own jobs. So we have this person here who's looking for jobs that are available and we'll go get them a job. Completely different message, right? We teach our people to be adults and to be autodidactic. They've got to get their own jobs. We give them the tools so they can get their own jobs versus, yeah, we have this placement person here who's out looking for jobs because they know it's all crap. Also, when we differentiated ourselves from these programs that are 1 week programs.
1 week?
Yeah.
There's a program for 1 week?
Urban League has a program for a week, FIT, Hope for Prisoners. And those things have their place. And so, the thing to imagine is you get out of prison, you get whatever. You're in life, you want to be an explorer, you want to do something, you don't feel great, you feel not great. And you have to climb that mountain there. I remember on fire crew when we had to do our first graduating firefighter training, is they just take you, your first hike is just this incredible mountain. And it's like, no way in hell, you can't. This is not with this pack, and it's the middle of the summer in Northern California, so it's 110 degrees, and there's just no way you can do it. Well, those 1 week programs should be designed to get people to believe, yeah, I can do it. I can climb that mountain. I can figure out how to do it. Our role is to give you the skills to do it, because you can't just go attack a mountain, right? You just can't get there. You need to have certain tools, maybe certain kinds of shoes or boots, and have things to, little hatchets or things like that. You need to have to learn how to climb a mountain. You just can't say, oh, I'm going to go climb Mount Everest tomorrow. I've been working out at the gym for a couple of weeks and I'm just going to go do that. You have to know how to do it. But teaching people the skills, if they don't believe they can climb the mountain, guess what? You're not going to do it, because you can't leave this thing behind of, I can't climb that mountain. It's too hard. So the role of those programs is to get people to believe they can. The problem with those programs is they get people to believe all you need is a good resume, a nice set of clothes, and we'll practice interviewing. And you're ready. Except not so fast. Because when the question is asked, can you type? If you don't know how to type, what's the result? It's over. If it's, well, why should we hire you? And you didn't practice the answer to that question, or you don't have a good answer because you only have 1 week of training. Why should I hire you if your first answer is or because I really, really want a job? What's the result? Good or not good? Yeah, not good. So those programs overreach. They try to do more than they can possibly do. I mean, we find out here every morning, right? I say, what is this? Right? Something that we saw yesterday. What happens? We don't remember because we're not used to remembering things. We're used to watching TV or listening to music, and it literally goes in. We get immediate gratification, satisfaction, and it goes out. It does not go into short-term memory even. Doesn't hit our brain that way. It comes in, it's an experience, it's an emotion, it's a sensation, it's musical tones that make us feel good. But 5 seconds later, those are replaced with other things that make us feel good. And we don't really remember what it was because we weren't trying to remember what we listened to. That's the way our brains are designed to work. Things don't go into long-term memory just because you heard them or you saw it. It has to go through a certain process in your brain. So these guys overreach because they think people can learn something of value in a week. What you can do in a week is you can get motivated. Something can happen like whatever happened to Loyola, whatever happened to Ignatius Loyola, that one day, some people could say, well, it was because he was there for 8 months and finally he did it. Or it could be, he was working to it, and he finally got to that point. Or it could be, boom, that was just the day everything became clear to him. So those 1 week programs could give people the motivation. Yeah, he can do it, I can do it. I just have to be committed to doing it. And that's what happened. If you remember with Lincoln, the statement from Nancy Cohen was, his attitude was, I will save the Union. I will save it. I don't know how, but I'm not going to be the guy that goes down as the president where this country fell apart. I'm not going to be that guy. Is that your phone? My phone. I'm not going to be that guy. So those programs could be good if they can figure out what is the button that needs to get pushed in you that makes you want to become somebody different than who you are. But when they overreach and saying we're going to do this and do this and do this all in 1 week, they end up not really doing very much. But for our purposes here at Larson, we want everybody from Hope for Prisoners to come here because we have seen if you come from Hope for Prisoners, you're ready, you have a belief, you're ready to do what you need to do to learn the skills to do it, because we can't do it with people who come here saying, you can't force me to learn. Take that attitude. I'm going to be resistant. I'm going to do what I want to do. You can tell me what you want to tell me, but I'm going to decide whether I agree with you. And if I don't agree, I'm just not going to do it. It doesn't work that way. Keith could tell you, or Saphir, about being at boot camp in the military. Has anybody here been in the military? So Keith, what is the program in boot camp? They do what? They break you down and they build you back up, right? To be a Marine in his case, or a soldier in Saphira's case. They don't say, well, if you feel like this, you can come today on this hike, right? Right, Keith? Yeah. They don't say if you feel like it, do it. Here's one way to shoot a rifle. Here's another way, or you can come up with your own way, right? Do they do that? Okay, you do it the right way, their way. So, okay, it looks like California IA is back. How many people call it Cali? Cali. When did you start calling it Cali? Okay, how long ago was that?
9 years.
Okay. So it's kind of a new thing. I don't think anybody had ever heard of Cali 20 years ago. Okay, so we're going to do forms today. So for people in California, what Google app is Forms a part of?
Docs.
What?
Drive or Docs?
What app what Google app is Forms a part of?
Google Drive. In Google
Drive, right. Coincidentally, that's what we're studying this week. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. And Joe, were you here yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it was good seeing you the other night. Joe drove all the way out to Las Vegas to say hi.
Okay.
Well, maybe not just for that reason, but it was good seeing Joe. And I think when I saw you last was like 2010, right?
Let's see. Yeah, 2010, 2011. Around there.
Maybe early 2011.
Yeah.
I got out in March.
Yeah.
Okay, and you got rolled up when? January?
I think it was, I think it was January.
Okay, so so we were at camp together called Prado, which is in quotes the honor camp in California, right next to Chino. You know where Prado is, right? So that's where they have the helicopter and they have the food trucks and they have a helicopter crew, firefighting helicopter crew. That's pretty cool. Okay, so Forms. Forms is part of Google Drive. It's a sub app on Google Drive. And what is the comparable Microsoft program to apps? No. Good guess. Nope. Not Excel, not PowerPoint. What is the comparable? Spreadsheets is not a Microsoft thing.
I don't know what they
Access, right. Good. Somebody took notes. So Access is the database Microsoft program. What's a database? Okay, what does a database do? It stores information. Did you say store? Receives information. Okay, in California, what does a database do? Okay, I think I heard it, but that was very quiet. What does it do?
It's like a server where everything's.
Okay, so in a database, you take in a lot of data, which is information, right? You take that in, and it's designed to manipulate it and get all kinds of facts. So for example, let's say you have a database that's people's names and addresses. How can you sort that? What ways can you sort that database? By name. How else can you sort that? Well, here's what's on the database. First name, last name, address, city, state, zip, phone number, email. There's 8 records or 8 fields in that record. That's a record. Okay, so how can you sort that? Let's say you have 20 records. So you can sort by state. You can sort by any of those fields. So a database, you take in a lot of data that you want to be able to manipulate or sort in certain ways. So for example, and you can sort on last name and then sort on first name. So if you have people that all have the same last name, like if you want it in alphabetical order, you say, okay, well, I want it first of all in alphabetical order by last name, and then I want it in alphabetical order by first name. What will happen? People in the same family, how will they be sorted?
First name, alphabetical.
Yeah. So if it was Casaro, if you had all of these Italian names, and you come down to C, Casaro, 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 Casaro. But this one says Angelo, Christina, Angelina, Nancy, Joe. If you sort by this, then this, it then takes this column and puts them in order. So you start out with Angelina, Angelo, Christina, etc. Okay? Or you could say, I want to sort by name and by state. I want all the Casaros that live in Nevada, or I want to have them all grouped by what state they live in, or by what city. So it's just tremendously valuable. And this is something that's relatively new, because 40 years ago, people didn't have personal computers. So they went to an office, right? Or clerical people, they went to an office. And what would you do how could you work on a database in an office if you only have a typewriter and pencils and pens?
What are those, those logs?
Okay, so you could have a Rolodex, right? You could have a Rolodex and you create an address contact form for everybody, right? You have a little piece of paper the size of a business card and you write it, you get somebody new, you put it in there. But you're only able to sort by one thing unless you have multiple Rolodex files. Okay, I have this one sorted by their first name, this one sorted by their last name, this one is sorted by city. So 40 years ago, the typical company didn't have good data on its customers because there was no way to sort the data. So what do you need a lot of data for if you can't sort it? And then about 20 or 30 years ago, you started getting all of these customer programs where you sign up for this and we're going to get this and we're going to give you points and we're going to do all that stuff.
How many years ago?
About 20 to 30 years ago. 20 years ago, it started becoming popular because everybody had PCs. So everybody could get Microsoft access and have a way to take a database where you get a new customer, and you put in all of their information, and you take the next customer and you put it in the same order. You can't put state, city for this guy and city, state for the next guy, right? You have to put it all in the same order. And about 30 years ago, with kind of a clunky, junky program, which was better than nothing, by today's standards, it would be horrible. You kill yourself by today's standards. But 30 years ago, your choice was pencil and paper. So you could sort these by different fields. Now, not only does everybody have a computer, there's this thing called the cloud, right? There's this thing called the cloud. And now not only can you sort easily, you can do what? Share it, you can collaborate, you can share it, you can access it from anywhere. You can do all sorts of things with it now. You can attach whatever's in that database. You can say, okay, all of the people whose names start with C, send them this email. All the people who start with the D, send them this email. If they live in this state, do this. You can do all of that now easily because of the cloud with people in other places.
Where's that cloud physically?
It's right up there.
Come on. Is there like a room like this and that's...
There are places all over the place like that. So each of our Google stuff, some of it could be there, some of it could be here. If we do something today, it goes over there. Tomorrow we do the same thing and it goes over there.
And who has that?
Well, a lot of people. So we focus on Google.
So
I'm just
like
saying, who has those places? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Google owns places. Microsoft has places.
And who runs those places?
The companies, generally. But okay, so like let's say there's a company called Salesforce.com. Okay, Salesforce.com was able to start once people had PCs with internet access. Okay, because Salesforce.com would say, okay, we're going to have this program thing up here. You get customers, you type them in on your machine. We'll do this, and then we'll store it back on your machine. We'll store a report on your machine. So Salesforce.com went out and bought computers and hired people to maintain this network. And it wasn't called the cloud. Now today it's called the cloud. So they maintain their other things. Other guys who were smaller, who said, you know what, we don't want to go buy these computers and have this building and have all this special electricity and backup generators and stuff. Other people said, we're going to go lease space from people who do that. So there are places called co-locations. Okay.
The actual buildings that store this information are called colos.
Yeah. And so, or a hosting service. So over here is one called Switch off of the 215 near Decatur. Just this huge, massive building that has all kinds of servers in there.
So there is a big
Wow.
building with the servers.
Well, there's thousands of, but this would be one, and this is a company that if you have an idea or you have a small company and you want to do something, instead of you having computers in your building, they could be in their building. And instead of you having to have employees that do it, you just basically rent people when you need them that work over at that company, and they maintain it. Amazon is very big in co-location service too. If you have something you want Amazon, especially if it has to do with sales, and you want Amazon to store and host your stuff, they do it. And do data processing stuff, they do. So data processing today is great compared to where it was 30 years ago. Because 30 years ago, there was basically nothing for a typical business. Typical businesses today are still back in the age of, I have Microsoft Access or something like that on my PC, which means it's not collaborative. It's not easy to share. I don't have access to it anywhere unless I have this other software on here that does that. So what is out there today is great compared to what was there before, but what's out there today is nothing compared to the future. The more data we have on people, the more good we can do to help them.
This is how we have multiple accounts, say you have Hotmail, other email accounts. This is how Google finds your information, like it'll link up other accounts.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so you can think of Google as a massive, huge database. The key field is your Gmail account. And so from your Gmail account, you can go do other things. So from the Google perspective, we're just one huge database. And our main way to identify people is their Gmail address. Okay, and then from your Gmail address, you have your Yahoo, your YouTube, your Gmail, your calendar, all of these other things. But for them, it's just this one massive database with fields that have subfields that have subfields that have subfields.
Right.
And it gets complex and mind-boggling.
You have more than one Gmail account, but your information will link those accounts according to your.
Okay, so one of the things that give you the ability to actually, by default, they basically will link your accounts because they ask you when you set up your new account, what other accounts do you have? So, last year we had there'd be one or two people in every new class that would take the position of, I don't want to use Google because it's not secure. Anybody feel that way? Okay. So unfortunately, the bad news is you can't avoid it. If you use the internet, they're going to know who you are. And if you go through all of these things, I'm going to have this anonymous thing and this alias and this and all of these things, you make one little mistake, and guess what? They follow the thread all the way through everything. Who's the guy who's going to prison, or maybe he got probation because of that? High-level person. It's just in the news last week. Iraq hero, General Petraeus. What did he do? He got convicted of giving top secret information to his girlfriend. He was having an affair. She was writing a book on him. He shared confidential information, military secrets about what was going on in Iraq. And they thought they were very clever because they set up a Gmail account. Maybe it was Yahoo. They set up an anonymous account. They got some homeless guy off the street, took him to Kinko's, had him set up an account. He couldn't remember 10 minutes later what the password was or what the thing he set up was, right? Not traced to them. Kinko's. They didn't go in the Kinko's. They're not on camera. Okay? But they had the username and the password. They didn't even send emails to each other. They would create an email and then close Gmail what does Gmail do? If you start an email and then you just shut off your machine,
Saves it.
saves it where?
Right.
Wow.
As what? As a draft. It saves it as a draft. So they had this, the most smartest people in the country set this thing up that here is a foolproof way. We're not going to send emails. We're just going to log on to this email account and we're going to look at the drafts. We're never going to send an email. It's not going to be traceable because it's not sent. Okay? And they thought, we're golden. We've got it made. Nobody will ever find anything because we're not saving anything or we're not sending anything. We're not sending anything. And we delete the draft and we get it out of our trash can. Nobody is even going to know where to look because we didn't send anything, and they can do all the searches they want on me, General Petraeus. My name doesn't appear. The NSA can be looking at every camera in the world to see what accounts I set up. It's not there. And I think it was just some bonehead thing that the FBI did, and they found this account. And once that account was found, there's no plausible deniability. Why did you have this account, this secret account, that you never sent an email off of, but you went on there all the time doing drafts? Why did you do? What's a good reason to do that? Why in the world would you do that? Now, the other thing is nothing ever really gets deleted. So once the Google or Hotmail or whoever it was, Yahoo, once they get a subpoena from the government that says, go back and we want all the records from this account, guess what? Are they gone? No, they're not gone because they know exactly where to look. But if you don't know where to look and you go there, nothing is there. You don't have the power of the government to subpoena. So the point is, forms or databases today are huge compared to the past. They're nothing compared to the future. It's nothing compared to the future. All data, all things that we do, it's so cheap now to save stuff. How many gigabytes of storage do we get from Gmail, from Google? 15 gigs, that's today. That's going to keep growing. Everything that you store, that we store on our 15 gigs is part of the database that they have on us. And if you have a LinkedIn account, that's another database, and all of these. So the thing is, you cannot function really in the 21st century. You will not be able to function if you want to say, I want to be off the grid. Because the other thing they're doing is cameras everywhere, right? More and more cameras. In London, they charge, there's so traffic problems in London. So they say, okay, here's how it works in London. If you want to drive in the city of London, the little town of Old London, you have to pay a toll every day. We're going to make it easy for you. You can pay for a permit, or we'll send you a bill. And they do it because they have cameras everywhere that are getting the license plate numbers. So they grab this license plate number, they go in the database, and they say, what? Did this guy pay or not?
They used to send me pictures of myself.
I gotta take it out of there.
And it's a real scam in London, because if you go drive, it used to be, I don't know what the prices are now, but it used to be, okay, you want to drive in London, you can go get your permit, you can go online, you can pay, you can do all that stuff, or we'll send you a bill. And you have 10 days or a week or 3 days to pay. Oh, so a lot of people said, well, I'll just wait to get my email and then I'll pay, right? So no big deal. I don't need to waste 10 minutes to go through this cumbersome way to go online and get a permit. So the way they got people was, if you don't pay, so it might be $2. I think it was £5. Let's just say it's $2. And you have 5 days to pay. Then it doubles.
That's the way it is in Texas.
And then it doubles.
Yep.
You know, like a week later, it doubles.
$285.
It doubles. But it's not, if you want to pay it today, it's $16. It's, well, it's the 2 plus the 4 plus the 8 plus the 16. And they made a fortune. And the answer was, well, don't blame us. You could have paid here, you could have paid here, or here, or here, or here, or here. You waited to here. Who's the idiot now? Okay. And so all of this is part of a database. So you should think of the world as a huge, giant database. So on our assignment today, what is the database we're supposed to create? What's the form that we're supposed to create? No. So go to open a new form. How do we do that? In California, how do we open a new form? Or how do we create a form? Go to Drive, okay. Then what? Speak up.
It was go to new or create.
Go to New, then what?
Then go down to the bottom.
Then from your drop down, then you go to forms.
Go to Forms, right. So if you do that, and I guess I'll follow along.
I know. Yeah, we got to get another mic.
Okay, good. So I went to Drive. And I went to New.
Okay. All right. Now
And then I went to More.
And it should be right there.
So then I went to Google Forms.
There you go.
Now, does everybody have that on their screen? Okay. Everybody should have a blank form on their screen. Okay. And how do we create our form? Well, we just created a form, but what do we do now?
Now you want to title it.
Correct. We want to create a title. Everybody was waiting. Okay, so you should have that, right? And then you give it a title. And what is the form that we're creating today? Progress reports, okay? And so how are we going to title this? Okay, so you should start with your name, progress report. And how do we change the title?
Just click in your title and just go ahead and name it.
Okay, and then you hit what? Right, you don't have to hit anything.
Right, you can just click in whatever area you want to start.
Okay. So now the box, so now it looks like that, right? So it's so on the settings at the top, what do you have in that very top box where it says Form Settings? Do you have these choices? No, in the first white box.
Okay.
Pages allow response that we're talking about. Chef a question or whatever.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, under Form Settings. How many questions do you have? Okay, so I have 5 because I have a paid account. So if I check the top box, my top box says require Gladius Business Corp's login to view the form. So that automatically means if you're not part of the paid account organization, you can't see it. And the next one is automatically collect respondents Gladius Business Corp's username. So that would be, again, if this was like UNLV uses Google for their, like we do, except they have it paid. So everybody has a UNLV account, but it's actually Google account. So when they do a form, they would check the box, automatically collect respondents UNLV username. So that would be a way to find out, well, which students at UNLV use this form. Okay, and then we have our page 1 of 1, right?
Yes.
The second white box, page 1, it says in the upper left-hand corner, page 1 of 1. And we can add an item. So if we want to ask our first question, we click on that, and it says question title. So what's our first question?
Brain rush scores.
Okay, let's say it's brain rush scores, because this is your form. You already know your name, right? So you type in brain rush scores. Now, help text, use it whenever you need to use it. That's just to tell you what that box, what that question means. The question should be as short as possible, because on the final output spreadsheet, whatever you put in the question title is going to be the title of that column. Huh?
We see them for that question.
So if you need to put help text in, good. Now, question type, what does that mean? Right. Yeah, so when it comes to the Friday quiz, you'll be creating a form. And I'll just tell you right now, one of the things about the form that you have to do is you have to use virtually all of these different things. Not all of them, virtually all of them. So you have to know what is text, paragraph text, multiple choice, checkbox, choose from a list, scale, grid, date, time. Okay, you have to do that. Now, regarding date and time, that is a date in the future. That's not today's date. Because every time you submit this, every time you fill out this form, the very first column is going to have the date it was submitted. So a lot of people make a mistake of having in a thing of, well, what's the date? When you look at the record, when you go to the spreadsheet, the very first field, column A, is all the dates that you created a record. So if you're going to do this every day, if you're going to put your brain rush scores in every day, you don't have to put a date thing in, because it's going to say, on this day, here was your score. So date and time refer to something in the future. You're going to do something in the future. Like, let's say this was your employment planning form. Your employment planning form, you might have a question that says graduation date. The date you put in there is what?
Graduation.
Your graduation date. Okay? And so if you click on date, let's do that right now. If you click on date, you see how it comes up where you can enter month, day, year, or you can just click on the little calendar. Okay, so you have to push next to the thing question type, you need to push the little down arrow. Okay? So now time does the same thing. You put in the hour, the minute. Why do you think they do that for this form? Why do you think they have that type of a question?
Sorting.
Exactly, sorting. Everything about a database comes down to sorting the records. And one of the problems, if you put in, for example, is how you were able to sort. So if you have a question that says name, how many different ways can you answer that? Let's say your name is Tom Smith. Let's say it's Tim Smith. How many different ways can you put that if you have a field called name? So you could say Tim Smith. Okay, what else? Huh?
Last name first.
Smith, comma Tim,
T. Smith.
Smith, Tim, because the guy didn't know, don't enter your comma. T. Smith, Smith, Tim, Timmy, T-Dog. You know, you can do all kinds of things. So when you say name, the problem is when you go to sort it, if some people did it this way, and some people did it last name first, and some people did nickname, and some people did this, and some people did that, do you have a good result when you do a search or a sort? No, because everybody's not doing it the same way. So some of these things like date and time are in there to make it easy for the thing to sort information, because everybody has to put it in the same way. Okay, so an important thing now. So the best practices that you need to do is you don't say name. What do you say? First name, last name. Today, middle name is not, it's not really important. Middle names served a purpose 100 or more years ago. They don't serve a purpose today. So, first name, last name is how you always want to do it. How about address? Do you want to say street, number, name, drive, court, lane,
That's under address.
BLVE? Do you want to have different records for each of these?
Will be helpful.
You want somebody to enter in, first they have to enter the number, they are 727, so that would be okay. First I enter 727, tab, Fremont, tab, street. Do you want them to do that? No, you don't, because it's, people don't like having to do that. You just want to enter 727 Fremont Street. And when the database sorts, yeah, you have this problem here because it can only sort by the number of the address. So people could live at 730 Baker. You don't have any way to sort by street here. Yeah.
You know, sometimes, like yesterday, I was filling out a form and it didn't take my zip code, so it gave me a magnifying thing. And so I just put an F, and Fremont just came right beside.
Okay. So as databases get more sophisticated, they make it easier to do. Not with this. So with this type of thing, you're not able to sort by the street. You can't say, well, I want everybody on Fremont Street.
So we can't put maps in here, you know what
You
I'm trying to
can't.
say?
Yeah.
Inside of this system so that when people go, it comes out.
Well, actually you can, but it's beyond what we do here. But yeah. So when it comes to address, you don't say this. You just say address. And you realize you're not going to be able to sort people by the street name. It will only sort by the number, unless you break this into two fields, the number and the street. But a lot of people don't like doing that. So only create a form that has two fields here. Oh, it's break time. Okay, so let's see. In California, Dennis, any quick questions?
Anyone have any questions about forms? No?
Okay, so tomorrow we're going to do a form.
Okay.
And for people here, we will, this afternoon, we'll create the form. So first we have to do chapter 3, afternoon, and then we'll do the form. Okay? Thanks, everyone.